Keep away from me, Smith. I'm an agent of Goldstein. I didn't know it myself. Thought crime was so insidious. It just creeps up on you. My daughter found it out. Very proud of her. Very grateful I've been discovered before it's too late. They won't shoot me, will they, Smith? I know I could be very useful in a labor camp.
Room 101.
No. Please. You don't have to take me there. Why? There's nothing I won't confess. Nothing. I've told you everything already. What is it you want me to know? Take him instead of me. He's the thought criminal. It's him you want.
Is everybody ready? I don't think I am. I got a headache. I just ate a large meal. I'm tired. Been working a lot. And every time I listen to the stream, I feel like my voice is too high. Maybe I'll talk like this from now on. Get a little bit more viewers, because if I was watching this guy, I would think that his voice is annoying to listen to. You know what I mean? But maybe this is more annoying. I don't know. So let me know what you think about that. So today is it's a tough one, and going the direction I went to set it up, I came to a conclusion that perhaps, spoiler alert, maybe today is the day I explain the solution everybody wants to hear, but nobody wants to do. So if you don't want to do it, do you really want to hear it? Think about it. So let's jump right into it, I guess. Maybe I should have more energy. Sit up straighter. Because it's going to get heavy, man. Or maybe it won't. I don't know. Maybe you'll be like, we knew it. We just needed you to say it. Now, although I might be saying it, I'm not telling people to do it. It's not anything I would do, personally. But we're talking about negotiating through violence, organized violence. Now, what do I mean by that? Over the last five years or so, 10 really if you want to look at it, September 11th, you can even go back that far, you will notice points in time where an organized group of what would generally be considered criminal terrorist organizations have done extraordinary things and made extraordinary moves which have then shifted society extraordinarily. And we will give you some examples of those today. Now, 9/11 would be an easy one, but we're going to go with more recent ones. But just to touch on 9/11, the world you live in today started closing in around you on September 11th, 2001. Would you disagree? Would you agree? I don't know. No, why did that happen? Well, it's because an organized group of individuals committed extreme violence by flying planes, and whether you believe it or not, it's a moot point. But for the sake of argument, flying planes into buildings, killing thousands. A very organized plot. 9 people, I think, were involved that day in the planes. But it obviously was a much bigger, much more well-organized action that took place than just some yahoos in a plane flying it into shit. You know what I mean? That would be naive to think that's all it was. So, we're going to talk about how nobody wants to talk about a certain set of nobody. People that could be categorized as on the right. I see more rhetoric from the right, and I see more organized action on the left. Now ask yourself, who has made more ground and who has ceded more ground? The left, obviously, has made exponential headway towards their goals. But I think they did it because they realized it can't be done through traditional nonviolent means. Now you could say, well, they have had organized voter drives and whatnot in order to get their people in office. That's true. The right has done that as well. But that coupled with extreme organized violence has really just pushed them into the forefront. It's all you people talk about. Look what they did today. Look what they did today. And it's got you scared at their ability to do that. Meanwhile, the other side, the right side of the spectrum, if you will, in my opinion, is definitely more capable of doing the exact same thing, but extremely less likely to do it, which I find a little odd, especially when let's say you have Facebook or Parler, especially Parler, Twitter for that matter. Most of the violent rhetoric from the right is just that. It's violent rhetoric. It is the people posting these things about organized violence and how to make headway or take our country back over, they'll say, is to simply put out an idea. And they go, I've done my part. See, I was smart. I put it out there. And if you pussies don't want to do anything about it, it's not on me. I came up with the solution everybody's asking for. This might sound familiar to my plight. I guarantee you it's not. But what is happening is people will go, I have a good idea. I have a really good idea. It's called ultra-violence. And all you have to do to make my plan work is organize it and execute it. I had the idea, though. That's like somebody saying, coming up with an invention. You know, they go, I figured out a way to make lemonade. You take lemon, real lemons, this is a long time ago, obviously, sugar and water, and you mix them together, and it's a fantastic drink. Then somebody goes and does it, and the guy who had the thought of mixing 3 ingredients goes, hey, I want credit for that. Because nobody ever thought to mix sugar, water, and lemons to make a refreshing drink? Nobody ever thought about that? So to all the people going, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. But they don't phrase it like that. I do. They phrase it like, this is what we have to do. Well, then do it. I'm going to show you how it's possible. I'm going to show you how one side does it, one side that's extremely less equipped to do it. But they pull it off. and it makes tremendous headway towards their causes. So let's do it. The Charlie Hebdo attack, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you all remember this. It's when the world was shocked when people who claimed they were going to do exactly this did exactly that. Much like 9/11, when it happened, a lot of people assumed, well, that's it. France isn't taking no more of that shit. Those people are going to be rounded up and moved out of there. And it never really happened. There have been almost weekly attacks since. There was another one. They killed more Charlie Hebdo people. I think it was within the last month or two. Another attack. But it was a beheading in the middle of the street of a, quote, civilized nation. I would say once civilized nation. It's no longer civilized in my estimation, as many what were first world nations aren't either. And that's because they negotiated through organized violence. Their negotiation tactic was, and you were told, Charlie Hebdo, if you fucking post a picture of Muhammad, we're going to murder you. And everybody goes, well, rather than just expelling those people who are not compatible with this society, because when they're polled, the majority do say, no, they should not kill people for posting pictures of Muhammad. But they also go, but if they did, they kind of deserve it. I'll just say that. So, you can't have it both ways. So they told them their starting point in the negotiation was, don't do that. Don't post those pictures. Don't put that on your fucking newspaper. And Charlie Hebdo goes, we still believe this is a free society and we can do whatever we want. That's free speech. And we will not be cowed. We will not be intimidated. Okay. This is one example of what has gone on. Now, if you look today, France finally did something. It's called Too Little Too Late. Another attack happened when a school teacher, I believe he might have been a professor, was teaching a class about free speech, tolerance, acceptance, things of that nature, and he showed the class the Charlie Hebdo original picture that they had printed that got all of the Charlie Hebdo staff murdered. Right? I mean, that's what happened. So this many years later, after they had all come to an understanding about, no, that's okay in our society. You can do that. If you don't like it, well, stay here. If you don't like it, stay here. And one of them goes, I don't like it, and I stayed here. And this is, I think it's my country, and it was invited in. And then the guy who showed the picture got his fucking head cut off in the middle of the street. So, who do you think made more headway? Well, finally, because of that incident, the French government decided to crack down. They didn't crack down on the original attack. They didn't go after what is known as political Islam. But now they say they are. But past performance, I'm going to assume it's just a lot of hot air. So, that's a good one. I wonder if these are all out of order. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me here. I don't want to get them wrong. Another example. We'll go to this one. This one is negotiating through organized violence via voter intimidation. Now, I don't think you can argue that the new Black Panther Party, it's important you say that. There was a lot of legitimate aspects of the original Black Panther Party, but this is the new Black Panther Party. Notice the CNN headline says, does 2008 video show Philly voter intimidation? Question mark? So, when it comes to movements that have an incredibly violent element, violent rhetoric, racially charged violent rhetoric, some is allowed. And that some is growing. It's becoming much bigger, much larger, much more acceptable. And the media posts things with question marks. And then they defend it and they go, well, we don't really know if that's what they were doing there. They were just at a polling place with bats and, handheld weapons. All right? I'm sure you remember that. Now, let's juxtapose, I don't know, the KKK, also a racially violent extremist group, some would say. I would say, stay safe, right? Don't want that taken out of context. But I would say that they're pretty equal. They, in their minds, they're fighting for, looking out the preservation of their own people. However, if the KKK was at that polling place, there would be no question mark on this headline. I got too many things to click over here. I also feel like I'm going too slow. Let's speed it up a little bit. It's hard to come up with it off the top of my head. I have nothing written. I just have pictures and then I wing it. Not too shabby. Am I right? After early morning shooting in CHOP occupied area returns to its... There's those words. Say the goddamn words. New normal. It's new normal. Why is it normal? Because they violently took it over. An organization known as Antifa and Black Lives Matter and some other organized communist organizations, Marxist organizations, violently took over a piece of American property on American soil. And it returns to its new normal. After a shooting, no big deal. If you create enough chaos, enough violence with your organizations, you get recognized. It doesn't matter what is shown. It doesn't matter what is seen by the American public. All that matters with this strategy, with this tactic, is that you are seen, is that you are serious. And these people were serious enough to create an autonomous zone in the United States. That's treason. It's in United States law as treason, by definition. That's an executable offense. Maybe it's not executable anymore, but either way, long time in prison, fines, all that stuff. Do you think anybody got tried for sedition or treason? I don't think so. I don't think it happened. Do you know why? Because their organization is big enough and violent enough, and when you're big enough and violent enough and organized enough, people tend to, it's a weird human trait, kind of sympathize with that or be intimidated by it. But it doesn't matter. It works either way. You saw a lot of people that didn't agree with that speaking out about it on the internet, but did they organize and retaliate with the same amount of force? No. Another factor in this is when you're big enough, organized enough, and violent enough, the media will kiss your ass. What does it mean to tear down a statue? I think symbolically it means pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious that you're comfortable with destroying history in order to make your narrative more prevalent. And when the headline is presented as, what does it mean to tear down a statue? From one of the largest news sources in the United States, you see how it's slowly legitimizing violent extremist movements. Pay attention. We're going somewhere. We're cooking with gas. We're getting somewhere. It's sounding redundant, I know. Remember a large organized violent movement that happened in Minneapolis, and it destroyed a city and it burned a bunch of businesses. It got the momentum going on defunding the police. So this proves that the more violent and dangerous you are, and the larger of a group you are, and the further you're willing to go, to the point of burning down cities. That's a big feat, by the way. Burning down cities, taking what you want, destroying things, shooting people. And the result from that, you would think, would be, well, we better up our law enforcement game. We better get more cops out on the street to stop this, or it's going to get out of hand. Not when you're organized and extremely violent. No. This is ironic. Staggering surge in violent carjackings continues across Minneapolis. Now look at this. A retroactive count by analysts determined that Minneapolis has seen 375 carjackings this year, including 17 last week. That overall tally is more than 3 times higher. So a threefold increase in that category of violent crime. And they're still defunding the police. There was a slide I don't have of a woman who was a social, what do they call it? Like a, when they defund the police and they don't send cops in to deal with mentally ill people, we'll put it mildly, mentally ill people, they send in this fat lady who was stabbed to death by a mentally ill person. Probably on drugs, probably homeless, went in. She was going to do her negotiating, right? We don't need police. Which I agree with, by the way. I agree we do not need police. I believe police are a hindrance to true progress. It stops movements short of realizing their full capacity. And if the movement is large enough and willing enough, why should something stand in its way that really has no power to stand in its way? BLM, Antifa, George Floyd riots. How many times have the police just stood down? Why? Oh, is it because they thought that, you know what, this racial cop stuff has gotten out of hand. Let's stand back and let them just do whatever they want. No, they were afraid. Do you know why they were afraid? Because those organizations had way more people who had proven that they will be extremely violent towards anybody that gets in their way. If you don't see where I'm going with this yet, I'll keep going. Another benefit, funding. If you're big enough, loud enough, violent enough, and intimidating enough, people will pay you. So now your organized violence is lucrative. Sounds like the mafia, doesn't it? It was a good strategy they had. But the thing is, the mafia had to extort money from people through violence. These people control enough media propaganda, or are sympathized with by enough media propagandists, that despite seeing, and I said this earlier, despite seeing violence for, 200 days of protests, looting, burning, murder, assassinations. Throw some rapes in there, fuck it. And it doesn't matter. They're big enough, they're in the eye enough, that there will be enough sympathetic ears to, in this one particular case, raise $90 million for bail funds, for bailing people out. It's probably close to $1 billion they've been given by corporations. This is going to sound crazy, and I just now thought about this, but imagine if those corporations weren't even extorted for the money. They just gave money. Now imagine if they were extorted for it. By who? I don't know. But I'd imagine it wouldn't be the right, because they don't have the balls. Progressive and racial justice groups have seen a cascade of donations since George Floyd's death and the ensuing protests. Since the death and the protests. Now notice it says bail funds. This is just money raised so when people get arrested by the police for destroying communities in violent riots, they get bailed out. That's just a fraction of what these groups had donated to them. This was specifically just to get their foot soldiers out of jail. What are you going to do? Now, whether you agree with the idea or not does not matter. If you are organized and violent enough, you can have even hardcore drugs legalized. Is it what's right for society? In my opinion, probably not. Because before it was legalized in these places, these were basically ground zeros for homeless drug addict epidemics. Violent homeless drug addict epidemics. So, what was the solution? Was it to eradicate violent drug addict homeless vagrants hell-bent on getting their next fix? Destroying cities, destroying normal life. Well, that's not normal anymore. It's the new normal now. The new normal now is be that same person. Occupy those same spaces, those same tents. Bother the same people. And our solution is, we just won't take you to jail for having drugs anymore. Whether you agree with the policy of arresting people for drugs or not is moot. I can even say, you know what, I do agree with that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how did they get to that? Negotiation through organized violence. That's how. You can do anything. Anything with a large enough, determined enough groups. And I'm strictly talking about the groups that are allowed to do this. To do these things. If you think about this, may God have mercy on your locked up for life soul. Because no permissions. Hold on. Why would it not allow me to open my own shit? Let me go back. My work. So, now we get to the solutions portion. And I told you it was coming. I wasn't expecting it to happen today. I'm I don't know, premature story ejaculator. I wasn't ready for it. But it dawned on me that now I guess would be the best time for it. Okay? So here you have it. You ready, folks? Are you ready for the solution? That you will never do? And I'm not asking you to. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to. But I really wish you'd shut the fuck up about it. The people that are pushing other people to do it. Whether they're globes or not, it's the same end result that will happen to these people. Unless it's a large enough organization of violent negotiations. And negotiation is the word, okay? I'm not using that for some legalese way out or, being cute about it. The gauntlet is thrown down. That's your starting point of the negotiation. You're going to legalize drugs and give all this money to homeless people to fight drugs. And if you don't, we're going to take over a swath of your city and assault your police officers every day, which I don't give a fuck about. Don't be a cop. Look what you've done. You've just allowed them to slowly take over. You've offered minimal resistance. But let's get into why, if the right was able to use the same negotiating tactics, it would be much more successful. Here we go. The SAS estimates that American civilians own 393 million guns, ranking the U.S. number one in capital arms. Jesus Christ. Firearms per capita. Sorry, I haven't been doing much reading today. I got to warm up. What does this mean? It means there are more guns than people, pretty much, in the United States. And that number probably doesn't include illegal guns. Maybe it does. I don't know. But you know what I haven't seen much of? I've seen some, but I haven't seen much. the people that the right would consider the enemy, I really haven't seen them super armed. There's small factions of armed people. But it would be nothing like, let's say there's 393 million guns in the United States. Don't you think the vast majority of that is owned by people who do not align with the left? I would say so. I think that would be a safe assumption. Okay, so now we're doing math here. I almost said fellas, but we have ladies watching sometime. So let's move on to the next slide. This one was interesting because I feel like this might be switching now as far as new gun ownership and their political alignment. 5 million Americans became first-time gun owners in 2020. This number is likely to include nearly 5 million first-time gun owners so far this year, August 2024. That was even before the election. Now, when you see the problems and protests and riots and rallies and any people, getting together, it scares the other side. It doesn't matter which side one is on, it scares the other side. But I think that the left is picking up on hey, this gun thing is pretty smart. Cops have them, the right has them. Now I'm saying I haven't seen large organized protests that didn't wind up with these people shooting themselves. Anytime the organized armed left, if you will, has gotten together, there's a high probability of accidental discharges into other people's asses on the same team. But they will be more trained. They will get more organized, and they will get more armed. So I don't know the answer, but that 5 million first-time gun owners, I'll bet a much higher percentage than what used to be the norm were people not on the right side. So, what am I saying? Be afraid, because they've proven that they'll use them unprovoked. If you want to use the Rittenhouse example, it does not apply. Rittenhouse was attacked, obviously. What about the two people that were assassinated? I believe one in Washington, maybe Oregon, and one in Colorado. Point-blank assassinations. The second one, it's not arguable, but I will say the guy had pepper spray. But you can't shoot somebody in the face for pepper spray. Oh, unless you're on the left, and then the news won't give a shit or say anything about it because they support the violent extremist organizations and political alignment, if you will, that these people come from. Rittenhouse, you hear about all the time in negative lights. Even Joe Rogan. Everybody likes Joe. Well, he's in the middle, he just calls it how he sees it. He called, Rittenhouse's family, bad people and shit for having a kid there. He drove them to these protests. Well, if you drive a child to a protest, and that makes you a bad person, is he also condemning everybody else that was there that was under the age of 18? I don't know. That was a weird avenue I went down. But it is different. The Rittenhouse thing was different. Rittenhouse was provoked into self-defense, which ended in death and maiming. The other two people just didn't like the views of the guys they killed. I gotta stop sniffling. The rate of full-time law enforcement employees, civilian and sworn, per 1,000 inhabitants was 3.4. Where am I going with this? They don't have the numbers. The people that you're still relying on to protect you don't have the numbers. You know who has the numbers to protect you? You. And for every 1,000 people that decide to protect themselves, if one of these days they do decide to do that, which they won't, there will only be 3.5 people to come after you if you ever decided that you wanted to save your life illegally. You have 3.5 people, 3.4 even, less than 3.5 people that will come after your 1,000. Now, that all relies on, can you get 1,000? Can you get 500? Those odds are still good. Even 100. 1,000 it's so out there, so bizarre, it's kind of hard to picture. You picture a crowd of 1,000 people standing together, and then you put out 3.5 people, next to it. And you go, oh, wow, these 3.5 people could be armed to the teeth. And they could have the bullshit illusion of authority and the law on their side. There's no way that they're going to defeat the crowd of 1,000, even close. The crowd of 1,000 could have toothpicks as weapons. It wouldn't matter. You think that the other side, or not even the other side, because the other side is, but you think that the law enforcement side is powerful. They're only powerful when they drag you out of your house at night with nobody knowing. And that's what I'm afraid of. So again, I will say, I'm not telling people to do this. I'm just pointing out facts. Authority is an illusion. And authority is cracking down on the right, and the left can do whatever the fuck they want. Cities with fewer than 10,000 residents reported an average of 3.5 officers per 1,000 inhabitants, the largest officer to individual rate among city population groups. That is from FBI.gov. I got 3 more slides to get through. Then I'll read some comments, okay? This is about the United States military. There are 1.3 million active military. So people go, well, you know, they might not have the cops might not have the numbers really, okay? But what happens if they send the military in? Well, first of all, it's illegal. And if this number here, that's all military. If they're only allowed to use National Guard, imagine how small that number is. Now, there are about 1.3 million active duty personnel, or less than 0.5% of the U.S. population. The Army is the largest U.S. military service, followed by Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. They didn't even put the National Guard on there. Maybe as part of the Army. Army National Guard, maybe it was included. I don't know. But that 1.3 million isn't a lot. And you can slash that even further when it comes to people who would actually be constitutionally allowed to, I don't know, become law enforcement in the United States. We're just doing math. That's all we're doing. So of that 1.3 million, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they got 400,000 National Guard. Right? Let's just say that. Now, I censored this gentleman's image because I'm sure he's aware of this and I don't want him to be embarrassed, and I'm not making fun of the guy. But I am saying I've seen a lot of other pictures, and it's more like the National Guard of the pizza. There's a lot of pictures of these guys just carrying around pizza. Now, this guy might be very efficient with a rifle. Maybe very efficient with a hoagie. But the thing is, I would put your average... Oh, what would you say? I would put your average guy who goes to the range, you know, once every week or two, up against this guy. He's a much larger target. I don't want to get into too many specifics, but stupid people fight toe-to-toe. Smart people, they kill you from 100 yards. You don't know who it is, where it comes from. I'm not saying shoot this guy. There's no what I'm saying. I'm just saying you got one side that takes to the streets. Not him. I didn't mean to click on him. You got one side that takes to the streets to negotiate what they want through violence, which you don't have an answer for. By you, I mean the right, and not you specifically, the audience. I'm just talking to the right in general. If everybody's on the street and they're trying to kill you, well, wouldn't you just be up in a building out a window? I don't know. That's not a reference to Vegas. I'm just saying. People who do things like go to the range, make their own ammunition, collect firearms, they're not the type that runs around in the street and stabs and shoots people point blank. And they outnumber the people that do that. But God forbid they even talk about it. They even mention the word organization. Now you got conspiracy charges. You got the book thrown at you. You got the nation's law enforcement arms cracking down on you, tapping your phones, surveilling you, kicking your door in at the right time because you said the wrong thing. Meanwhile, you can watch any riot stream any night, and you will see an organized group of individuals out there doing exactly what people get in trouble for merely talking about in a chat room. They state it, they show it, they do it, and nothing happens. But you post the wrong thing on Telegram or Facebook or wherever. Secret Service, we'd like to speak with you. Do you have any firearms in the house? Well, what you did was actually a violation of the law that doesn't exist, but we're going to intimidate you and we will find something against you. What you're doing is fucking with the narrative. You're fucking with the plan. And we're here to correct that, because part of the plan is to make you shut the fuck up and take it. And if we have to use the National Guard to do that, we will. BlackVill'd. Last one, last slide I got. It's not a very important one. We're just doing more math. Somebody asked, how many bullets does a typical cop carry? If he needed more in a gunfight, what is the practice? Perry Collins says, I spent 10 years working in uniform and time as an attorney in law enforcement. I carried a Smith & Wesson semi-automatic 9mm as my last duty weapon. It held 12 rounds in the magazine plus one racked in for a total of 13 in the gun. 2 more 12-round magazines were on my belt, so that was 37 rounds on my person at all times. I feel like I get fish lips when I do this. Carmine Lupertazzi lips. That's important because, although I don't own firearms, if I did, I would know that I would carry 100. If this person carried 37, I would carry 100. Let's say that person's carrying a 40 caliber weapon. So I would say their 13 rounds that they have on them would stay the same in a full-size pistol. 40 cal is usually about 13 to 15 rounds, right? So let's give them 15. That's 45 rounds. Cops now are carrying 40. If they carry 9, let's bump it up to 50 rounds. You know, being a little generous there. So now you take 100. And also, from what I've seen, the ammo being bought up everywhere. Everybody I know, even before this, they just picked up ammo every now and then. Just stocked it up. And now it's gone. So if we're just doing ammo count, the people you don't want, the law enforcement, the people that law enforcement doesn't want to have all these, this ammunition and stuff, they've already got it. If you want to join the John Brown Gun Club now, you want to join the Not Fucking Around Coalition now, more power to you and good luck. But I've been wondering, if they're doing all this target practice, where the fuck are they getting the ammo? And the answer is, I don't think they are. And you can't practice without ammo. If I had firearms, I would say I'm relatively practiced enough to where I wouldn't be on a range right now wasting my ammunition. This is what it comes down to. You wanted the solution. The solution is massive organization and violence in the face of law enforcement that hates you and wants to take you down, but realizing that your negotiating point starts at, we burn it all, or you get the fuck out of the way. Now, there's one political alignment that's capable of doing that is being fractured into a million little pieces, and that is anybody considered right of center. Those people, not me, those people literally have the largest standing army in the world times 50. But the media and the law enforcement agencies and the government and the subversive groups and the college professors, the educational system, the social media have everything hinged on. That group never does anything. And how do they do that? They keep you in a constant state of fear from even thinking about revolution, while the other side constantly tells you it's a violent revolution. And then they show you that it is. Can't do anything about it. And you're not gonna do anything about it. BlackVill'd. BlackVill'd, everybody. That's how it goes. I know you're mad. I know you're going, that's not true. It's true. You know it's true. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody will organize because they can't. You can't blame them. They can't do it. They can't organize. There's nothing they can do. They're constantly... Okay, so when somebody is arrested by the FBI, and it is for being part of the Boogaloo Boys, which is a leftist organization now, created by the FBI. That's how deep they get. They make their own organizations to then take down so they can say, we're on to you. We're on to you, cocksuckers. They made it. And it's by design. They do that so people are afraid of even mentioning the mere idea of maybe things are fucked up enough to where violence is called for. But if it hasn't happened yet, it's not going to. It ain't gonna happen. What's my suggestion? Stop trying to make it happen. You're not going to. Here we go. Let's do comments. And then I'm gonna go. Oh boy. That's a lot. That is a lot. Stop paying taxes? You can't even say... I better have my soundboard plugged in. I wish I had the FBI open up. Solutions time. Yeah, I'll start with there. Solutions time. There's your solution that I've been saying for a while. I will get to, but you're not going to do. America is becoming the same as any other empire that's expanded its territory too big. Look at Rome. Diversity destroyed them in the end. I agree. The solution is to buy Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, well, I've been so preoccupied mentally with so many other things and physically with things that just have to be done that I can't enjoy video games. But when you let go of everything, you're like, it's not going to change. I'm just going to live my life. Okay, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not going to contribute to society because that would be aiding and abetting a corrupt society. They can suck my ass. If you step on my toes, I'll shoot you. Metaphor. And, yeah, that's my solution. Just be self-sustainable and tell everybody else to fuck off. Like when they cross your path, personally, that's when you have to act. But if you ever join an organization, just know you're joining an FBI-created organization in order to be used as propaganda to make other people that ever thought about or think about joining an organization point to you as the dummy who did that and is now spending the rest of his life in prison because you were set up by your own government. The rise and fall of all civilizations depends upon the racial homogeneity of those civilizations and nothing else. Yeah, in Oregon, Washington, they are coming significantly armed now. 2 to 3 ARs and shotguns per group. Yeah, and they're allowed to. And nobody says anything. I have a feeling it's gonna suck. It already does. Every march with security details around 10 open carry. I've noticed blatant examples of brandishing. This all falls into BATFE rules of what is considered a pistol, what's considered a rifle, how it's worn, how it's used, how it's held, things of that nature. One side can just swing it around and point it at people. And the police are right there. They don't do anything. Keep in mind, that's the same side that killed the police in Dallas. They assassinated 5 of them. And that's who the police protect. That's how fucked up things are. They're matching conservatives' open carry gun for gun now when they come out. Yes, but that show of force is an illusion. It's bullshit. But it doesn't matter because when I just showed you the 390 million plus guns owned in America, probably going to much higher than 80% of people who would identify as politically right owning those firearms, you could stop anything you wanted tomorrow. Let's just say that. If 10% of those people just started their own army, nothing could stop them. Nothing could stop them. They're armed. They're armed and dangerous, man. But more importantly, they outnumber all law enforcement organizations and military combined, even having a fraction of that 390 million plus. So anything can be put down. Anything can be done. They could come up with the craziest shit tomorrow. Be like, every fucking city in this nation better have a water slide from the tallest building in a week, or we fuck shit up. And they could make that happen, just to be ridiculous. They build a goddamn water slide. Negotiation through organized violence. It works. You've seen it work. It works for one side, especially when the media and law enforcement is on their side or just refuses to do anything about it. It's because they negotiated that through violence. And the cops aren't arresting any of them for brandishing. Yes, exactly. I'm not the only one that sees this. You watch every day as the cops turn their eye away from blatant crimes committed by people that are aligned with the organization that assassinated 5 police officers in Dallas. No, that was one guy, and he said he liked BLM. That was one dude. Pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon, I believe they were chanting the next day. Their training has climbed exponentially to an extent. But yeah, no, you should be afraid. Yeah, their training has gone from nothing to something. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to point a gun and pull a fucking trigger. Again, wiped off the face of the earth tomorrow if you wanted it done. Not gonna be. They're eventually gonna kill you. If they're even in the area. Oh, yeah, most of the time cops won't even approach him. Why would they? Why would they? If they arrest him, they have $90 billion in bail money sitting there, a DA that won't prosecute, and a city council that says what they do isn't even crime. Speaking of Rittenhouse, Grosfuitz was an armed felon. No charge, correct. He had what looked to me to be a Glock 19 or a Glock 22 handgun. He was a felon in possession of a handgun. No charge. Left his gun on the scene and part of his arm. Watched the feds clear the gun and throw it back on the ground live. I saw that too. It was weird. Like 50% of Antifa has their parents drive them. Hee hee. But they show up one way or another. Even if the cops grab Antifa, they just hand their guns to someone else before getting arrested now. I haven't seen that. I believe it. Why wouldn't I? Have the cops give me any reason to believe anything otherwise? Can you imagine respecting law enforcement at this point? And I'm not trying to be the guy that goes, fuck the police, man. But don't support the police. I can get behind. Don't support the police. They're the ones that come for you in the night. They're the ones that write you the tickets. They're the ones that arrest you for not paying taxes that go to war and corporations that you've already bailed out numerous times. You know, they're the first line of enforcement when it comes to a tyrannical government. And that's the right's problem. They've been tricked into being like, no, they're our friends though, for real. No, for real, just good cops. Most cops are good cops. I didn't say they weren't. But good cop or not, you're not on their team. They've showed you that. The people who assassinate them, they're more on their side than they are on your side, Mr. Law-abiding, tax-paying citizen. If you don't agree with me, fuck you, you're an idiot. You can say prick on our channel. That's surprising. Even if nah, Joe just said that these lootings and riots was due to white kids. Joe's a prick. Yeah. And he's the leader of the free world now, like it or not. Oh, he just said Trump's not going to be president. Don't listen to him. What an asshole. Prepare yourself is all I'm saying. Prepare yourself. No, I'm not going to prepare myself. Trump's going to win. You watch. You might want to make room up here for when he doesn't. Because if they controlled enough of the system to make it this far to fraudulently elect Joe Biden, which I believe they did, they've also got a plan for afterwards when the fraud comes out. He's not winning, folks. Trump is not winning. And you're the same people that go, the system is so fucking corrupt that we see all this evidence of voter fraud, and it's just gonna happen. Trump's gonna have to win. It's all gonna come out. It already has come out. And you got every major organization, country, media outlet saying, no, Trump didn't win. They have the power to do that. How have you not seen? They have the power to rig the fucking election, but they don't have the power to keep it rigged. Really, that's what you think. Is it a legitimate win? In my opinion, no. Is it a win? Probably. I don't speak in absolutes, though. Sawing off toothpicks, Hales, yeah. Assault toothpicks. Yeah, the second you organize, the alphabet is up your ass. And that's not even real organization. That's talking about organization, which is why I constantly go, I'm not saying I'm doing this. I'm not encouraging people to do this. I'm just saying this is what has to be done, and this is why you will not do it. And I don't blame people I don't blame them for not doing anything. It's totally understandable. The government is waiting for you to do that so they can make an example out of you. But why do they make an example out of you and not the people actually doing it? You have to ask yourself that. Because it's part of the fucking plan. Whatever reason, whoever is in control of it, it's part of it. And if it wasn't, then you wouldn't be seeing what you're seeing. You mean to tell me COVID happened like this at this exact point in time? These riots happened at this exact point in time. This election fraud happened at this exact point in time. All these colossal fucking events that happen once every 10 years all happen in a fucking year? Really? You really think that? And you don't think they have the power to elect Joe Biden. You don't think they have the power to tell you just to shut the fuck up. It's the way it is. That's how they do it. That's how the Russians fucking did it. They don't have to take down your group. They have to take down key people. Key people, little individuals. And then they go, you remember that guy? You remember your neighbor fucking Bill? Yeah, he's gone, isn't he? Yeah, what the fuck do you think happened to him? Am I going to say, no, but I think you can figure it out, John. I better not see you ever fucking talk about not paying your taxes ever again, or I'll be back, and you'll be fucking leaving, John. This is me. I'm being the FBI or the cops talking to your family after you said the wrong thing on the internet, intimidating you. The people on your side, the same people that put you in jail, and the same people that will one day come to your house in the middle of the night. Oh, what group? I don't know. Only 37? What if you need 38? The 38 is your throwaway pistol. Oh, 38 is you throw the pistol at them. Yeah, the fuckers can be heavy. Oh, 40 cal, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, well, she had a 9, but it was a woman, so it was probably a subcompact. I don't know. I hope they stopped carrying 40. I forgot all about that. You have less capacity. Ammo's scarce, that's no joke. No, it's not. It's very hard to find. Very hard to find. Luckily, I don't have guns or ammo, so I don't worry about it. They have friends working at the gun store that tell them when the ammo comes in. Yeah. I have an academy I go to, not for ammo, because it's never there. And it's gotten to the point where not only is there never 223, there's never 7.62, and they get regular shipments. You can't find anything else anymore unless it's like a hunting rifle round. And an uncommon one at that. So all you people that built, like, what is it, 6.5 Grindells or whatever the fuck, all you people that built those weird ammo calibers, you end up being smart about it. And they crowdfund it. What do they crowdfund? So do we make our own ammo? I'm glad you asked, Rose, and thanks for being a subscriber. I haven't seen you before. You can try, but you can't find primers now. It's very hard to acquire bullets, the actual projectile, the brass. It's already gone. And everybody was depending on a Trump win so the ammo would come back. That's not happening now. You realize that, right? They've talked for years about the best thing to go after isn't the guns, it's the ammo. Well, what happens now if the ammo never comes back? Interesting. So to answer your point, do we make our own ammo? The answer is sure, if you can. Good luck finding the materials for that. You know who's hurting right now, if you think about it? Gun ranges. Unless they've got a stockpile of range ammo, they'll sell you a box for like $20, a box of shit ammo just to try out different guns and shit. They might still be making money, but they're about to go, not out of business, but they're about to lose money. Best gets them in stock notifications working for you. You'll have to tell me where. That'd be Ammo Seek. What's it? I use gun.deal. Guns.deal? I don't know. But nothing happens. They are waiting at the store for the ammo for it to be offloaded and purchase it with crowdfunded money. Interesting. Created by the FBI. Did I scroll back up on accident? This speaks to a previous point you have made. They have predicted all of your reactions and are playing you with full knowledge of your options. Yes. Yeah, so they war room. They war game. They have think tanks. Everybody has heard of the think tanks, but nobody really knows what they do. It sounds rather, innocent. Think tank. Oh, they get together in a room, drink coffee, solve problems. Well, one think tank that happened recently was before the election, and I think it was Podesta and a lot of Democrat operatives. Well, they had a think tank, and what they thought about was everything that could potentially happen with the election, despite who wins, what would happen afterwards. This includes preparations for COVID-19, things of that nature, Biden winning, Trump winning, certain states seceding. And if you look into it, they went through every single scenario. They had people on conference call that had scripts, and they were playing roles of different people in different state and federal government. What they were doing was strategizing for any possible outcome and how to maintain control. And if you don't think that they do that every day about everything, the shit that I'm talking about, the election, COVID, all day, every day, this is what they're doing. They plan for every single possible outcome. This is unwinnable. Unwinnable. The only way anything like this in history is turned around is by violent revolution. I'm not calling for that. I'm telling you, the only thing that stops tyrannical governments that do things of this nature in the past has been negotiation through organized violence, also known as political revolution, violent revolution. And nobody has been better equipped to do that in history than 390 plus million guns belonging to mostly the people on the right, and the people on the left buy the shit. They're like, well, they buy the Biden shit. Well, I just got a 12-gauge shotgun, double-barrel shotgun. Just in case I need it, you can just cock it. Good enough. That side's percentage is very low. He talked about that before. There's still options. They're just less conventional. I agree. And these options require cohesiveness and strategy, something you're not allowed to have or do or strategize. Can't do it. They can do it. You can't do it. You cannot do that. This weird Canadian guy that opines on American politics, whom also started a group, wants us to go to war with Iran. I saw that. I saw somebody. Oh, it was Gavin McInnes. I saw this on Parler. He said that, I think it maybe, I forget the president now, but there was a president that extended his term because there was a war going on. And then Gavin McInnes said, sounds like the perfect time to go to war with Iran. Luckily, there was a lot of people in the comments of that Parler post that said, why don't you go to war with Seattle instead? A lot of people were based and woke to the fact of the United States military intervention being used fraudulently, incorrectly, and for the wrong causes, and the wrong people, and sometimes the wrong countries for too long, and that's a stupid idea. However, there was an equal amount of people that go, hell yeah, good idea. Let's just fucking go to war again in the Middle East. The guy who promised to take all the troops out of the Middle East. You want them to go to war in Iran now. Yeah. Yeah, let's not think about the casualties. Let's not think about Iran's military. Although we might be able to beat them, we haven't been able to win a fucking war in 40 years. But although we might beat them, oh, fuck the American troops that die doing that. Fuck them. Let's keep Trump in office. If you want to keep Trump in office, you go to war. Fuck me, I want this water slide thing now. Well, let me tell you how to get it. Do you know how many lives it could save? The water slide? I think it could save people's happiness. How many lives on 9/11 would it have saved? I think you're onto something. I don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, nothing to something is still a big leap. Then it's diminishing. That happened in Vancouver a week ago. The feds are anti-white as hell. No, I don't think that the feds are anti-white. I think they're anti-white movement. And that doesn't mean a white racial movement. It means if your group tends to be on the whiter side, the lighter side of the spectrum, you have to be very careful about everything you do. If your group, which includes a lot of white people, is part of BLM or Antifa, you can do whatever you want. So it has to do with ideological alignment as well, and political alignment. But one political alignment tends to just be more whites. An example of this is the Proud Boys. They are supposedly classified as a gang, under surveillance, things of this nature. Meanwhile, the other side, they can do whatever they want. And I'm not defending the Proud Boys, but I'm saying most of the videos you see of their rallies and shit, it is not a homogeneously white organization. There are plenty of Hispanics. There are a few blacks I've seen. A lot of Asians. And blonde chicks that hang around. Who handed in their guns and then turned themselves in? I don't know. Gail, not anti-white, it's anti-middle class, and those not giving me that side money. Yeah. I can get on board with that. President of Mexico, though, he still backs Trump. I didn't know that. I know I didn't really agree with his hugs, not guns, or what was it? Hugs, not bullets initiative. It's like, give the cartel a hug. He still backs Trump. Interesting. Russians arresting the meme lords. Interesting. I would look that up, but I don't want to mess anything up. And I gotta go. Jump, jiggy, jump. I like how you spelled that. Even the parts for the ammo presses are hard to get. Back ordered. Everything's back ordered. Do I have something against owning a gun? Read between the lines, Rose. Okay, sweetie? Read between the lines. All right, everybody. That's it for me. There's no Thunderdome TV or anything coming on now. There you have it. I probably won't get back into a solution because I'm scared of our government because they're tyrannical. And I don't want to be confused with one of the people, you know. I don't need the FBI knocking on my door. You're not going to get me to organize. You're also not going to get me to join an FBI infiltrated or created group. And that's why, and I'm not an outrageous person. You know, I'm just telling you, I'm probably pretty fucking average. And the average person isn't going to join an organization. I think your last chance, hear me out here, guys. Maybe y'all can get the word to them. Your last chance for an organized revolution or organized way of defending the nation, defending the American way of life that has been dead for a while, is if you believe the evidence about voter fraud, if you believe the evidence about rigged elections, if you believe in the interference of our elections by foreign nations and corrupt American officials and politicians, corrupt law enforcement agencies, if you believe in that, then maybe you can convince Trump to declare a coup. then and only then will you have people come out into the streets armed to the teeth, ready to make an actual change in this country. Only then will you get the politically corrupt, the law enforcement corrupt, the insidious, seditious, treasonous, communist, Marxist. Only then will you get them to retreat. But until then, they have no reason to. They are winning. So another solution, which is still the same solution, it just makes it more viable that people can legitimately join something, and it would happen really fast versus having to slowly build networks, and which you can't do, but slowly build organizations and whatnot. And I don't think he's going to do it. Trump has to declare a coup against him and call on the citizenry of the United States, the militias of the United States, to put down that coup. So hear my call, but anything short of that, it's not going to happen. I would probably, even though I don't have any guns or anything, I would probably be out in the streets tomorrow if Donald Trump declared a coup. Is it because I fully support him at this point or anything? No. No, it's just the last legitimate reason to be able to get into the streets and make an actual lasting difference by negotiating through organized violence. It legitimizes it.